Britain's longest serving prisoner convicted of 3 brutal killings could be released before Christmas. Patrick Mackay, 69, who's formerly from the Dartford area of Kent, has served nearly 50 years in jail. He killed a Catholic priest in the village of Shorne near Gravesend in the 1970s. It's believed he may be responsible for as many as 11 deaths. He was convicted of horrific killings across London and Kent in 1975. Mackay hacked up the body of a priest in a bathtub and also killed 2 elderly women. The serial killer became known as the Monster of Belgravia, the Psychopath and the Devil's Disciple when he was finally brought to justice. Mackay has a parole hearing which is due to take place in November. Mackay, who now goes by the name David Groves, spent the first 27 years of his sentence in a top security jail. He's now in an open prison and is seen as a model prisoner according to Prison Source. The 69-year-old was convicted of 3 killings at trial, but he's suspected to have carried out a further 8. Mackay's first victim was Isabella Griffiths, an 87-year-old widow who was strangled and stabbed at her Chelsea home. He then strangled 89-year-old Adele Price in Kensington. After that, he brutally killed Catholic priest Anthony Crean, 63, using his fists, a knife and an axe. Crean's mutilated body was left in a bath full of bloody water. Mackay was charged with 5 counts of murder, but he was convicted of 3 counts of manslaughter due to diminished responsibility. Mackay confessed to 13 murders but later retracted his statement and was only convicted on 3. The other 8 remain unsolved. Mackay has spent 47 years in prison without being released, making him Britain's longest serving prisoner. In this next clip you will see some rare footage of Mackay when he spent time in Hull prison in a special unit. The unit was designed for the most dangerous and difficult prisoners in the country. As Mackay is asked as if he considers himself a psychopath, he replies, "There is never any suggestion in my mind that I was ever a psychopath."
Do you feel at the time of the offence you were a psychopath or behaving psychopathically?
From the point of view of somebody who is supposedly using that label to enjoy taking human life, there was never, ever any suggestion in my mind that I was ever a psychopath if one used to use that criterion. I could have perhaps understood some people being rather uncertain as to whether or not I was. But I certainly have never considered myself psychopathic if one takes the criteria that one gets a special enjoyment out of killing. No such enjoyment have I ever had. I've never found any pleasure out of any such thing.
Right. You know everybody here, don't you? Yeah. Wish I did. It's an induction meeting. We just spoke out about your first week, how we've seen it.
I think it should be a gradual thing. I think we've said that we'd expect you to be with us at this time next year. Beyond that, you know, we can't ever really say, because that's something that we debate amongst ourselves and talk about with headquarters. Are there any problems with the other inmates whilst you've been here or not?
No, well, not as yet anyway, to be accurate.
Have you got any concerns that there might be?
Not particularly, no. But I can't read the future anymore.
No.
Up next you will hear some facts from this newsreader.
In 1975, Patrick Mackay used an axe to murder Father Anthony Crean, the parish priest, here in the village of Shorne, near Gravesend. He confessed to the killing and went on to be convicted of 2 further killings of 2 women pensioners in Chelsea. In total, he confessed to 13 killings across Kent, Essex and London, but subsequently withdrew many of those confessions, though remains a suspect in many of the cases. Among them, the murder of Southend cafe owner Ivy Davies. Her son from New Ash Green says Mackay, diagnosed as a psychopath, should never be released.
To be a reformed character, you've got to admit to your crimes and be repentant, and I don't think he's been repentant about anything in his life. He doesn't know what it means, I don't think. Even at 70, going on 70 years old, that's all he knows, doesn't he? He doesn't know any other behaviour. And when he's out there in freedom land, it's like a candy box. It's been opened for him.
Former detective Peter Blexley has studied Mackay's offending. He believes he's likely to remain highly dangerous.
All the victims were vulnerable. 2 very elderly ladies and a man of the clergy, alone in their homes, extremely vulnerable, in places where they probably thought they were the safest. He exploited that. He murdered them. He cut short their lives. And there are some people whose offending is so far beyond the pale that they really must gasp their last breath behind bars.
Mr Blexley also believes Mackay may well be guilty of all or some of the murders he admitted before withdrawing his confessions.
I think it's very interesting when we look at the other crimes Mackay confessed to and then withdrew those confessions. Those cases were subsequently looked at by detectives, and interestingly, no one has been charged in connection with those crimes, and I think that might tell us everything that we need to know.
Mackay, who's 69, is Britain's longest-serving prisoner. The Parole Board confirmed tonight that it will consider his release in November. John Ryle, ITV News.